The project you've both had in mind is Suns and Tigers, the Hardwick DNA. So, Simmo, I know in particular you've been eager to get to this.
Well, it's scratch an itch, I suppose, Jared. Like, what's the difference between Dimma between 2019 and 2020, 2017, 2019 premiership year? It was post the 666 rule. So what's the Dimma now compared to the Dimma of back then, other than him saying it's a Richmond game or it's a Gold Coast game every second week? What's the actual difference with the style of play? So I had a look at the numbers first, then I had a look at some vision. So it's a little bit scary in one sense, and Horse will touch on the semi-scary bit. But this bit here, if you just pause it there for a second and reflect on some of the numbers there, is just identical to 25 as it is to 19. So, they're a handball side, so the kick-to-handball ratio, the back half transition, the metres gained by handball. We sort of heard this rumour when we were back in the day that they really valued metres gained through handball. Score off turnovers, and then the front half game is still massive for both eras. So that's just underneath the general stats you see. There's at least 10 more, which are very, very similar on the way they play. So I've got two bits of vision that'll show you just them and in Richmond, and then Gold Coast in 25, and then Horse can touch on the scary bit. So this is just this is the grand final. So for the Richmond supporters, they'll love this clip, but this is their DNA. So back half transition, whilst it wasn't their number one piece, you sort of knew what they were trying to do, and that was direct football. All their mids and forwards had running lanes where they ran a lot of straight line, forward handball, and they would train this to a point where it's brave and there's going to be a turnover. And when there was a turnover, it was the wave would come behind, and it was very clear that, hey, we dare you to go against us in the same game we're trying to play. So if you got caught up in this game, you get tipped over, they hold a bit of length, and then the talent takes over with Dusty. So that was a very clear way, the way they played. If you look at the game a few weeks ago, and it's slightly different in terms of the positioning, but you can sort of tell what's happening. The play from the back half, I don't know how long this is going to pause for. Get it going if you can. There we go. It's a general play, and there's potential a handball there, but they're happy to go straight and direct, and you'll see a similar running patterns from their forwards where it's straight line. This goes a bit more corridor. You've got a key position player, forward handball, run the risk. Yeah, there might be a turnover, there might not, but we'll continue to run in waves, forward handball, and then we get our inside 50 connection. So they don't live off the half-back plays, but when you're looking at styles of play, you sort of look to how they move the ball, and quite often it is from the back line. And this is where they're very, very similar. And there's one piece, and we'll see if you boys can guess it, that's different than 19. Like, do you have before we throw to Horse, have you got what do you think would be different? Gary?
No, you got me. I'm just seeing similarities everywhere.
So stoppage.
Well, we'll throw to Horse and let him go through the scary bit.
Yeah, well, Simmo describes it as scary. I just think what they're good at. I'm not sure I'd call it scary, but it's what they're doing really well over and above the Richmond days. Look, if you look at those numbers there, they're actually not relying upon what they did back in, or what Dimma did back a few years ago under the Tigers, which was the ball get to the back half and then really go from there. They're actually winning it at the source. You can see that's a significant difference with their rucks and midfield setup now that they've got. They're able to win it at the source. And if we have a look at some of the examples of it, you can actually see it in action now. That a number of years ago, they often end up with a player back. In this particular case, it was Hooley. They'd sort of set up to be able to, if they lost the stoppage, which happened reasonably often back then, you can just see Hooley off the back here, setting up to put pressure on. Their pressure was always enormous. They win the ball from the back part of the stoppage, or the back half of the ground, but very similar now to the forward handball, to the run in waves, get their game going, chaos moments, forward handball, really looking for the opportunity to go forward at any particular moment they can, and trying to score off the back of that. That was the Tigers. Now, if you look at the Gold Coast, they're winning the ball more often here at the source. I think they were 16th Richmond years ago in contested ball. Now they're second or third Gold Coast. They win the ball at the source. They're not relying upon going backwards. They're actually going forward straight from that stoppage. It's a bigger threat. Very hard to coach against. and very hard to coach against, and you had to be mindful of it the whole time. And you know, I remember back a few years ago trying a certain couple of tactics against Dimma, and you know, trying to work out how happy you'd be with trying to play against him with the way he liked to play. And be fair to say, he wasn't too happy with me.
A horrendous game of football, there's no doubt about that. It was hard to watch, it was hard to play, it was just incredibly frustrating. And well, there's not much I can do. I'm sitting there, we're attacking, and we've got 75,000 people in our forward 50, so it's pretty hard.
75,000 in the forward 50 for Dimma.
So
Was that because you didn't follow up their half forwards force and you just held your back six?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought we did. We just held our back six, but it didn't go down too well. And we got some feedback directly after the game, Simmo, which was terrific.
75,000.
Who won that game?
They did. They still won. I don't know what he was grumpy about. They still had a win.
So just quickly, Simmo, are you saying now that he's, or both of you are suggesting that because back in the day they didn't have a big priority on clearance and they weren't focused in that because they were prepared to win it back behind, or is it just personnel that allows them to do it?
There's a few different things, but I think you never not want to win clearances, but they just set up well behind the play. So, like I said, they were 16th at clearances. Now they're third. So. Yeah. They probably don't set up as the same way, and they had a distinct way of going about it. But everything was straight. Everything is a straight line play and a bit of chaos behind it. And if they won the clearance, it was the same method. But now they're winning the clearances. They're going from 16th at contested possessions to second as well. So, yeah, I'm a little. If they don't finish top four, or top eight's minimum now, I think looking at these numbers, top four should be a lock.